Today, the Caffeinated Librarians are inviting you to a place both wonderful and strange. So, this is continuing our Would You Watch series. This one's my pick. We're doing Twin Peaks. I had notes, and I did not print them out, so let me pull up my phone.
Yeah. No problem.
So, it premiered 1990 on ABC. It was co-created by David Lynch and Mark Frost. I want to emphasize Mark Frost because, dude gets no credit for this. It's always referred to as a Lynch thing. I'm very guilty of that. So, but yeah, they worked together for a while before this. They started off on a script based on the life of Marilyn Monroe called Venus Descending. Didn't really go anywhere. Lynch was sort of uncomfortable with the material. And then they actually wrote a Steve Martin comedy called One Saliva Bubble that just never got produced. So, but the pair had been working together for a while, and they sort of found their rhythm. And I don't know. Do you want me to give more background, or do we just want to get into it?
Do you have more background?
I can just give context for
I like background, Joe.
Lynch.
Yeah,
Lynch
context.
was sort of hot off of Blue Velvet, which sort of established him as America's pop art filmmaker, and that movie was bizarrely popular for what it is, and he was also still kind of seen as a provocateur at this point. If you go back and read Ebert reviews of his work, they're really nasty and scathing, and I think that's the point of a lot of it. But
Blue Velvet was that Dennis Hopper one where he was like, "Mommy, mommy," and
Yes.
during that horrific scene.
Yes. Yeah. And that was the first time.
Did not love that movie.
It's a harrowing film, but I think it's really good stuff.
All right, I'll give it another go.
My mom saw
There's
Blue Velvet. She said that it was bizarre. So I don't know that she enjoyed it all that much.
It's like a David Lynch through line, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Laura Dern gives such a beautiful performance in it. I think she was 18 when they made it, and it's just really just an astounding portrayal of goodness in her. Isabella Rossellini is amazing, and Kyle MacLachlan gives a secretly really funny performance because he's playing a college freshman who comes home for the first time and thinks he's figured everything out about the universe. But yeah, and Frost was a TV writer. He was known primarily for a cop procedural called Hill Street Blues that was considered pretty groundbreaking. I've never seen an episode of it. I'm sorry, Mark Frost.
Yeah, I think they remade that, because that sounds familiar to me. I never watched it, though. I'm not big on cop shows.
And a little bit more background. It was initially supposed to take place in North Dakota on the plains. I think that was probably a bit of a nod to Lynch's childhood in Montana. But they wanted mountains and they wanted trees.
So that's why they went to Washington?
They wanted
Go
those,
to Washington, yeah.
Those
because nothing
Douglas
speaks,
firs.
Because nothing speaks like mountains and forest and trees to make something just a little more eerie and creepy.
It's true.
And just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Didn't it make you want to go for a hike?
No.
Yeah.
Actually,
I want to be outdoors.
Funny enough, rewatching it, because it's been years and years and years since I've seen it. The influence on video games, like Silent Hill and Alan Wake and all the... I'm like, wait a minute.
Have you ever played Deadly Premonition?
Yeah.
Hysterical game, and it's pretty much a direct Twin Peaks ripoff, but it's so much fun.
Well, they on purpose hired the worst voice actors you could ever imagine, but it's still kind of compelling, and the game is there's battles over how good that game is and how bad that game is and how beloved that game is and how hated that game is.
I love it. It feels like a Dreamcast game that for some reason came out in the 360.
But yeah,
I used to have a Dreamcast.
Such a great console.
Yeah, we should have a podcast about how great the Sega Dreamcast was and how important September 9th, 1999 was. And I'm sure you were there.
I was not. I was 1 year old. 1 year old.
I was there for you.
I don't know that I would be there either because I was 9.
Underrated gaming system, though. The other thing is that the PS2 came out right after it.
1 year.
Yeah, so it was
2 years.
Yeah, and the PS2 had
1 year.
DVDs, so they won.
They won.
Yeah.
I know. But the Dreamcast had Echo of the Dolphin, Defender of the Future.
Crazy Taxi 2.
And they all showed up on PlayStation 2 eventually.
Okay. this is such a tangent, but I'm so mad at Sega because they re-release Crazy Taxi 1 all the time. They have never re-released Crazy Taxi 2.
Probably because The Offspring.
Well, that's the
But
problem with
they-
Crazy Taxi 1 is they don't have the licensing for that
Yeah.
music either, so it's lost it.
No, but they just replace the music.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, just do that.
Yeah,
Come on.
it's a shame.
I don't know. I feel like the authenticity needs to exist. If you're going to re-release it, you need to relicense the music because it's part of the time that game came out.
I agree, but I just want to play Crazy Taxi with a jump button, you know?
Yeah. Agreed.
Crazy Taxi 3, High Roller, killer game. Didn't
Never
get a lot
played
of
it.
play because
Me
it was an
neither.
Xbox exclusive, I think,
Oh, okay.
back in 2003. Anyway. Twin
So
Peaks.
from Crazy Taxi to Twin Peaks. This was I definitely did not remember a lot of stuff about Twin Peaks. Watching it this time and kind of with some background, I was into it from beginning to end. I think some people might watch it and say like it's a little corny and cheesy, but I definitely got the vibe that the corn and the cheese were intentional. And I don't know, like I look at somebody like Bobby Briggs just
Hero.
Surfing on a car or dancing on his way to the principal's office to be told that your girlfriend was just murdered.
God bless Dana Ashbrook.
just that-
He brings it. He's
Yeah.
unhinged from the first frame.
Yeah.
Like,
And that scene in the diner where he's like, just everyone is turning their head as he walks by.
Yeah.
In school, everyone's turning their head at him as he walks by. It's like they really made that character, like they did him well.
Yeah, I liked how so he's this big tough guy and everything like that. He's not scared of anything. He's fighting cops in the library, but then when he's dropping Shelly off and he sees Leo's truck there, he just speeds off and gets out of there. He's just like, that's the one guy he's not messing with. So Leo's a bad guy.
So I'm having a memory of Bobby in a house that's on fire and someone swinging an axe at him. Is that
Does that
Leo?
sound right?
I don't know if the house is on fire, but yeah.
All right.
I
okay.
think that happens. I think that happens after Leo's coma.
Leo gets into a coma.
Yeah, there's a lot of soap opera.
I cannot wait to get into this show again.
And so that's one of the things like we talked about earlier was the corniness and the cheesiness are intentional because it's playing on that soap opera
Yeah,
kind of trope.
like it holds it at such an interesting distance because on one hand it's like sort of goofing on soap opera stuff, but on the other hand it's like also embracing it wholeheartedly and being like,
Yeah.
no, there's like real difficult emotions in this stuff.
Yeah.
I mentioned this earlier. I remember the show as being quirky and eerie and odd and unsettling. And I didn't recall how deeply upsetting it is in that first 25 minutes, the way they handle everyone finding out when we already know.
I think that also just comes with the territory of revisiting something that you remember certain aspects of it when you first watch it, but then when you watch it again as more of an adult and with a different headspace, things become like, ooh.
Yeah.
It is such a heartbreaking sequence.
Yeah.
Just from like Sarah on the phone immediately panicking, just knowing like something horrible has happened.
Yeah.
To just like when Donna starts breaking down in the classroom.
Oh, the Lara Flynn Boyle?
Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
God.
And James with the pencil.
That guy.
And the girl running outside
Oh, yeah.
screaming.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, and they did such a good job. One thing else you don't notice when you're 10 years old of making each character distinct
Yes.
right away. Like the little creeper in the front who's kind of smiling at the idea that Laura Palmer's dead, and she's just like
Audrey, yeah.
Audrey.
She's an interesting character.
I love Audrey. She's very strange in this first episode in ways that she never is again.
Audrey end up with James, or is that Lara Flynn Boyle that ends up with James? At least some point.
Lara Flynn
Lara
Boyle.
Flynn Boyle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm all jumbled.
Audrey ends up with Agent Cooper, right?
No.
No.
That was vetoed.
Annie.
That was a plan, but it was vetoed by Lara Flynn Boyle because she was dating Kyle MacLachlan at the time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I remember
But
Cooper smacking his head in the mirror, yelling, "How's Annie? How's Annie?"
yes.
And I don't have any recollection of why anymore.
That's the season 2 finale, and I don't know if we want to get that deep into spoilers.
No, not yet. Not yet.
So, one of the things that struck me this time was, parts of it are humorous. Like you are supposed to kind of laugh at parts, and then there's parts that are deeply troubling and very emotional, and then they do an interesting job of kind of combining the two. So when Sarah is kind of like almost hyperventilating and screaming, she's doing it in a way that initially you're watching it and you almost react in a comical way. And then I sat there and I watched it and I was like, you know what? I have never heard a mother whose child was murdered cry. So like the fact that she's screaming like that, it's almost like it's supposed to invoke this sense of trauma that no one should ever have to experience. Mm-hmm. So it's like they want to make you hear something and see something that you wouldn't normally experience. And that was just like really powerful is such a, I hate using that word when I talk about this kind of stuff, but such a powerful
Grace
thing.
Zabriskie gives such a full-throated performance in
Yeah.
this. Like, good Lord. Just every scene with her it's difficult. It's genuinely difficult to watch her, like, just deal with this. And,
Yeah.
Sean Penn in Mystic River did that pretty well himself. And off screen, but what's her name in Hereditary?
Toni Collette.
Yeah, Toni Collette.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember her doing
Really good. Is that my daughter moments? Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw this series when it aired. I was probably too young to see it,
I don't
and
think you were born.
What?
I don't think you were born when this came out.
When did it come out?
1990.
I was born.
Oh.
I was born in 1990. So yes, and then
She was a toddler, an infant.
yeah, I was a baby.
An infant getting really into Twin Peaks, being like, oh, Angelo, hit that synth riff.
So, and like, I mean, growing up, I saw like clips of it, especially when the reboot series was coming out of Twin Peaks, and seeing things like on the internet from the old Twin Peaks, I kind of like turned me off from watching it because I'm not into the bizarre or like the paranormal really kind of a thing. So watching this episode, I don't know, I think part of me was bracing for something bizarre to happen when it really just kind of read like a normal, I use loosely, murder mystery kind of a thing. And yeah, parts of it was uncomfortable to watch. But I feel like the same as well, like you guys said, that the first episode sets up each character as being distinctly different. And like I think the first episode of Lost too, which kind of like did that same thing. You know that these characters are going to act a certain way, be a certain way, say certain things through that's going to like form their characters further on into the series.
And that is something like I feel that even a lot of shows that I absolutely love don't establish their characters so distinctly in episode one. They just you figure it out over time, kind of what the personality of this person is, which is fine too. But it's nice when you see such a professional like job like that, where everyone, even Ed at the gas pump, all he does is turn around and give a look, and it's like, I know who this man is, and it works. Yeah. Yes, he'll surprise me along the way, but we figured out the personality right away.
Yeah.
What sticks out in this episode is how drenched I felt in in the area where it took place. It had just
So
full immersion.
they actually designed the town before any plot elements or any characters. They really wanted it to just be like, this is a community. Like, this, we need to figure out the geography of this place. We need to figure out that, and that will inform what comes next.
And I think that just shows that they wanted to make the area a character as well. That they didn't want you to like get somehow disconnected from the story that was going on, and
Yes.
that type of immersion, I wasn't like drawn away from the story at all. I didn't feel like I was suddenly jarred out of it. I was fully immersed into what the area meant to the community, what the community meant to the characters as a whole. So
I just like all the shots of wind moving through the trees, and that is
Yeah.
It ends up, especially paired with the soundtrack, which is just Angelo Badalamenti going insane. I don't, dude makes the craziest music. Oh my god.
And he works in tandem with Lynch.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically,
yeah.
they do everything together.
Yeah.
And I mean, like with the area being a character, it's like how I felt in Titanic when I watched Titanic. Like James Cameron did an amazing job as making sure that the ship was a character all on its own, because you felt for the ship. And then when everything is going on from Laura being discovered to what happens later on in the episode, I don't know how anyone else felt about it, but when I saw it going, I was like, oh, this idyllic area just suddenly became something that could potentially be very, very dangerous and
Silent
horrific.
Hill.
Right.
What really got me this time, rewatching it, and I'm sure I thought it was hilarious when I saw it when I was younger, but when the photographer starts sobbing.
Andy is such a beautiful character, because at once he's really funny, but also you feel such deep empathy for him. It's just like, oh god.
He's like such a humane soul and just can't cope with.
And then
just,
later on, where they find where the murder took place, and he calls Lucy, and he's sobbing. He's sobbing uncontrollably, because he's just like, good lord, like, 2 teenage girls were taken here and tortured, and one of them was murdered. But then he's just like, don't tell Sheriff Truman I didn't cry.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
And that was one of the things that kind of stood out to me this time around also, was characters not necessarily, like, while there's a lot of really dark things happening, characters weren't always reacting the way you stereotypically expected them to react. Like Andy crying at the murder scenes, that's a very normal reaction to people you probably knew getting murdered.
Yeah. But like in the normal cop procedural, they roll up, they make a one-liner, and
Exactly.
Yeah, like.
Yeah. And then there's the other scene where after Donna sneaks out, and then she sneaks out the day after her best friend is murdered. She's kind of pulled over by the police and stuff like that. Then her father, Doc Hayward, who was probably my favorite character, comes, and you think that he's gonna kind of lean into her a little bit and rip her, and he's like, I know that you've just gone through this trauma, and we're proud of you, and we're happy for you, and we're glad to have you as a daughter, and we know you promised your sister you're going to put air in the tire. Let's go do that right now. Like, just such a heartfelt moment, like that you didn't expect. And that was really, that kind of hit hard a little bit.
Or the principal.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the principal tearing up over a student. I mean, that's, most, I can't imagine, unfortunately we had people in my high school pass away. I'm not sure that our principal cried over them.
I had students that some of them I knew in my high school too, who passed away. And I don't ever remember seeing my principal get choked up about it.
Yeah.
Or emotional about it.
But also part of me, in my blind, black spot of a memory about this show, now I'm suspicious of that principal. And I'm like, were you involved with Laura? Tell me. I need to know now.
Yeah.
I don't think the principal shows up again.
Well, talk about making the most of your moment.
I know, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the principal did do it and he just got out of town real quick.
Oh God, I can't.
Also, weird amount of West Side Story cast members in this.
Oh yeah.
Richard Beymer is Ben Horn, and he's Tony in the original.
That's right, he
And
is.
Russ Tamblyn is Dr. Jacoby, and he's Riff.
That's right. That's why I felt like I recognized a lot of the actors in this episode, and I'm like, I know you from somewhere, but I can't pinpoint where I know you from.
Dr. Jacoby is
What a
so
creep.
upsetting in this episode.
Yeah. What a creeper.
When does Leland's hair just turn white?
Season 2.
I thought it happened overnight.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Season 2 picks up directly after Season 1. Like, Season 1 ends on a bunch of cliffhangers, and Season 2 is, like, immediately after.
Okay. God, it's all coming back to me now.
Is anything
Joe, you've ruined
answered?
my week.
Sorry,
No,
Ben.
it's okay.
That's like, is anything answered in this season, in this series? Because
Yes.
I feel like everything that I've ever looked at Twin Peaks, there's something ambiguous
There's
about
always going to be an ambiguity, but you get answers to pretty much all the central mysteries.
So how I know I watched season 1. Now I'm going to have to attack it again because of you putting me through this, and I'm in love with it in a way I wasn't. Season 2, I obviously have vague memories of Cooper and whatever at the end and what it means and why. There's a Fire Walk With Me movie.
Yes.
Is it connected or
yes,
is it a prequel?
that is a prequel. It focuses on Laura and the last week of her life.
Okay. And
It got savaged on release. Critics despised it. I think the only positive quote I found about it is from Jacques Rivette, who's a French New Wave director, and he didn't even know Twin Peaks was a show, but he just saw the movie and he was like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever!" I left the theater floating 6 feet off the ground, like. And now it's really recognized as like this is a major piece of work, and like this is probably one of the best films made about like these traumatic circumstances.
And then there's season 3, which apparently
Yes.
is like this all-around agreed magnificent achievement.
Yes.
Was
no
that
one watched.
Was season 3 like the reboot?
Yes, the return.
Okay.
It
Like
was
18 episodes or something.
yes, and they let David Lynch direct all of them with seemingly full creative control.
Nice. Good.
Oh, Joe, you did it.
That has an insane cast. Michael Cera shows up at one point.
I heard
in
Monica
one of the
Bellucci's
fun-
in it.
Yes, Monica Bellucci playing Monica Bellucci. David Lynch's character at one point is just like, Albert, I had another Monica Bellucci dream last night. And he just tells him about his dream
Okay.
about Monica Bellucci.
God, I have to go on an adventure and just do all this over again.
It's really great stuff. But yeah, so originally Lynch and Frost didn't want to reveal the killer at all.
That's what I heard.
Their
yeah.
plan was to have it to sort of just end up focusing on the fallout and just like focusing on the community and have the Laura Palmer storyline fade slowly. But in my opinion, that might have been a mistake. But however, they were screwed by the network into revealing the killer way earlier than like ever discussed. And so
I can't remember who it is.
Do we want to spoil?
I don't know. Katie, is there any chance you'll watch this?
No.
All right.
Ben, are you opposed to discussing who it is?
I'm not opposed.
It's Leland Palmer, Laura's father. Yeah.
And how early in season 2 is that?
I quit.
Episode 8, I believe.
Oh wow,
Or
that is
episode
really
7,
that is
yeah.
really early.
Yeah, and after that, Lynch and Frost kind of got pissed and took a bit more of a hands-off approach. So, the back half of season 2 has a lot of plate spinning and just like really goofy, like sitcom-style plots that they're not bad most of the time, but it's just kind of like this show's become about very different things.
So, how far up do I watch to keep prime Twin Peaks?
I still recommend watching all of it.
Okay.
Because even in the rough patches, you start learning a lot more about the mythology of, like, some of the weirder supernatural stuff, so.
Why did Leland do it?
So a lot of the show seems to be pretty concerned with, like, cycles of abuse, and it's heavily implied that Leland was abused as a child in similar ways, and, yeah, and you find out he'd been abusing Laura sexually for quite some time,
and he killed
Yeah.
Teresa Banks.
Yes.
And he was going to kill Ronette.
yes, Ronette Pulaski,
Yeah.
and yeah,
That's an unfortunate name.
and there's and of course there's the supernatural element to it of being possessed by Bob, a
Was that the little
malevolent
person
spirit.
in the dream?
No, Bob is the guy
White
with
hair?
long white hair.
Okay.
Yes, you actually see him very briefly in
What's
this
the
episode.
arm then?
The arm is the little person.
The arm is the little.
Yes, but yeah, you actually see Bob very briefly in the first episode. He was played by Frank Silva, who was just a set dresser, and he crouched to get out of shot. And in a brief shot of Sarah, like, having a vision at the end of the episode, you see his reflection in the mirror.
Oh, so that wasn't intentional.
It wasn't intentional at first, and then David Lynch was like, "Oh my God, what a beautiful accident," and decided to make him a major part of the show.
Credit to David Lynch for seeing something like that and like saying, "Yeah, let's use this." Like that's such an artist.
I'd like to know how they were talked into by the network to revealing the killer a lot earlier than they intended.
Yeah, Bob Iger was the one responsible for that.
I'd like to know how that happened.
Bob Iger said, "You got to reveal it. People are getting tired."
The boss.
Jeez.
Yeah, like
So the show wasn't a huge hit.
it
Or-
was
or
a
did it-
phenomenon at first, and then season 2, I guess ratings were declining. Which it's insane to me that this was like a water cooler type show. Like, people were tuning into this every week to like go back to work and be like, "Oh my God, did you guys see what happened?"
Yeah.
Like,
My parents would like send us to bed, and my aunt and uncle would come over, and my other aunt and uncle would come over, and it would be Twin Peaks night, and I would sneak out and sit by like the side of the couch to watch it. But yeah, it was that. It was a appointment viewing.
yeah, and another happy accident of the show. The girl who plays Laura, Cheryl Lee. Originally, they just cast her to play a corpse. They found a local girl. They were just like, okay, sure, whatever. And then they filmed the second scene with her of the videotape James made of her and Donna dancing and stuff. And Lynch was like, wow, she really has something special. And then you get more of Laura in flashbacks, and they introduce a character who's Laura's cousin that is just Cheryl Lee in a dark wig. They said if they got a season 3 originally, they would have had her come back in a red wig. So
Oh yeah.
I think that would have been great. But yeah, but like, she just turned out to be such a phenomenal actress. Like, in Fire Walk with Me, she gives an eviscerating performance.
What has she done in the interim?
She hasn't done much. Unfortunately, she's sort of been defined by Laura Palmer, though. It's a hell of a way to be known.
I mean, it's not too bad.
No, yeah.
Wow. Is she in the 3rd season?
Yes. Not too much, but she shows up. She does some great stuff when she's there.
I have some catching up to do.
You know who else is in the 3rd season?
Kyle MacLachlan.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, playing many roles, actually. And Eddie Vedder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he shows up. He sings a song.
Oh, yeah?
And Trent Reznor.
Wow.
There's a lot of great musicians in
Does
it.
Trent Reznor do the soundtrack for that episode, that season?
No, I think it's still Badalamenti, though the music's a lot more sparse in the return. But Reznor does I forget what song he played. Oh, She's Gone Away in episode 8, which is just one of the most insane things aired on television.
I like that.
This is going to be.
And
my
he is
holiday.
introduced as the 9 Inch Nails.
Oh, that's awesome. We would be remiss if we didn't discuss Agent Cooper a little bit.
Amazing character.
He was, I think, I don't remember liking him as much the first time I watched it as much as I did this time. Like, he was, funny, magnetic, and like and I just thought, like, just such a cool FBI agent. Like, he just like knew things. So like when they're at the Roadhouse, which, by the way, let's talk about the Roadhouse for a second. I know I complained about this before, but I'm sorry, James. If you're giving Donna a note, and you think that you're wanted for murder or whatever, and you're giving her a note to come and meet you, don't make it at the only bar in the town at the most popular time of the night.
Because every biker in this town loves the music of Julie Cruz. They love to get together and listen to Dream Pop while they drink their beers.
Yeah. I was just
So
like,
weird.
everyone's going there. And I was like, you know that's the only place in town when the two people that are having an affair on their wife and their
your
spouses.
uncle is going there to have charged conversations with the love of his life.
Yeah. Like, please, guys, meet somewhere else. What was I? Oh, Agent Cooper. So when they're outside of the roadhouse, naturally, in the cop car, and then the other guy with the J name brings Donna out, the sheriff, which I think is a very natural thing, is like, oh, okay, he's also a J. He's Jesse or whatever. He must be the J. And then Cooper's like, no, he's taking her to somebody else. I'm like, oh my god, this guy's just like on top, you know?
I love just like immediately he's just like, I have this scan for cocaine, like have it tested for cocaine residue, and Truman's like, you wouldn't dare.
Yeah. And then even the stuff with the fingernails, they're like, oh, we dug for those, and I get that it's really deep in there, but he just like knew.
That was the one scene the network wanted to cut. They were like, please don't have it go that long, and David Lynch said no.
Yeah. And it looked nasty, like going
it's
that
brutal.
deep under the nail.
And like the way like it's like flickering,
Yeah.
the lights are flickering in that scene too, which was also unintentional. But
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Sounds like a lot of the good things that happen with this show are unintentional and by accident.
Well, it's going with what you are presented. It is embracing the unknown. It is
Yeah.
embracing the creative process.
Yeah, I mean, look at we talked about Spirited Away a couple weeks ago, and that was one of the things that Miyazaki
Hayao Miyazaki.
said about Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Was that like he went into that not knowing how he was going to end it, and he let the story kind of tell itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of what's
Yeah.
going on here.
Lynch is a big believer in like having this is the title of his memoir, so I'm really spewing hack stuff here, but like of having room to dream when you're working on something. Like he wants to have time to just sort of think and figure it out as it goes along and
Yeah.
see where it ends up taking him.
Yeah.
Like there's an amazing clip from a behind the scenes documentary on The Return where he is fuming because like they told him he couldn't have a set for like the amount of time he wanted it, and he was like, who cares how long a scene is? Like he's just going off. Like
I loved when he it's such a famous clip now, but when he goes off on people who watch movies on their phone or on their laptops.
Get real.
Yeah, yeah, you know it, of course. You know it. There was those kind of happy accidents. I think that Ridley Scott had a famous one in Gladiator, where the whole opening battle against the barbarian horde, something went wrong with the film stock and everything was blurry, and they watched it and they, the whoever brought it to him was like, it's a fail. We have to reshoot this whole thing. We're going to go grossly over budget, whatever. And he loved how it looked because it was just about the confusion of the Battle of War, and it's like this weird paint-your-ly thing.
Ooh.
And have you seen the film?
I haven't actually.
Okay. And it's
You
basically
should.
the last 2 minutes of the battle is just like this blur of action, and it looks kind of amazing, but it was not on purpose. It was something went wrong with the film when they were
I hear
shooting it.
that and Braveheart are the two most historically accurate movies ever made.
But how do you feel about that? Where do you stand? Which one would, since they're considered the most accurate, which would you put on top?
I hate both of you right now. Are you sincerely asking me, or are you just teasing me at this point, Ben?
Does this look like a joking face?
Yeah, it does.
I think I'm going to go with. I couldn't think of a joke. I'm sorry. I started that and I was like, I'll get there before I finish the sentence.
Very David Lynch-esque of you.
Well, she hasn't answered the question yet.
Well, neither of them are historically
Gladiator
accurate.
wasn't historically accurate?
No.
Oh. I wrote a whole paper about the Roman Empire based on that movie. I didn't do any of the reading.
You know what was amazing that I found out through learning history through film was that Robin Hood.
Yeah. Which one?
Wasn't even the real Robin Hood. His name was Robin Longstride, and he single-handedly was responsible for the Magna Carta.
You're talking
That's
about
baller. That's really
Russell
baller.
Crowe's
I didn't know he does that.
Robin
in that
Hood.
movie.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. The Magna Carta that was written well earlier than the actual Magna Carta
But
was written.
Did you actually know that what actually happened was that King John burned the Magna Carta in front of all the lords and said, "Tend to your houses."
This movie rules. This sounds awesome.
And that's the
honestly.
ending.
Let's
The
watch
ending.
it.
That's how England ended.
I hate all of you.
This was a killer podcast, actually. I'm liking how tight we are these days.
I want to go for a little longer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't ending it.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, Coop this episode.
Yeah.
Does he continue that golden age Hollywood cadence throughout his character?
Yes. Yeah, that's
He really does
Agent
play
Cooper.
it like a Cagney.
Yeah, he's
Or
a
Bogart.
golden boy. He's so good. God.
Yeah. I remember him really into the black coffee that Audrey gives him.
Black is midnight on a moonless
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, the Pacific Northwest is very well known for having the best coffee in the United States.
I would agree.
Is that a true fact?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a true fact. That's not one of...
I think Lynch makes his own coffee now.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And
He grows,
Sells, he
like-
sold it
He
off.
sells it. I don't think he's doing it himself
Oh.
in his backyard, but yeah.
He does.
What is it? Twin Peaks coffee?
No.
Oh.
I forget the name of the brand, but they were using it at Whole Foods forever.
Yeah, I
years
think it's
ago.
just like David Lynch,
It's got a specific name, and I forget it, and it's a name that's apropos. But
We are the Caffeinated
I would
Librarians.
love to try it.
We might. You know what? I'm gonna find a bag of it. We're gonna brew a pot.
honestly,
yeah,
I
and
think
he
we should,
loves his cherry pie, Cooper.
Oh yeah.
we should look into a different name because we've not represented coffee well in
At all.
this ever. There's nothing about us that's caffeinated. We all sound really tired.
Simona always brings her iced coffee.
That's true.
I know,
Simona's-
but it's not represented. It's not nothing about. I mean, and there's just like a McDonald's soda on another part of the table.
there's caffeine in soda.
We don't coffee well, is what I mean, and we should.
I don't drink coffee.
I grind my own coffee every morning.
You make a French press,
No, it grinds right into the.
so you don't grind it.
No, the machine grinds it.
You mean you don't go
No.
all morning?
When I was in LA, me and my friend went to this little French restaurant in Los Feliz because we heard sometimes David Lynch hangs out there.
Oh, yeah?
And so we were just like, let's just give it a shot. But the coffee there was like the best I ever had.
Oh, yeah?
They brought out a whole French press for you. It was so cool.
No. The French press is a pretty baller way to drink coffee.
It really is.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Katie, did you enjoy Agent Cooper?
I did. I enjoyed the character of Agent Cooper.
Yeah, I love Colin McLaughlin.
No.
I liked his Dick Tracy impersonation.
Diane?
Yeah. Yeah.
His
Yeah.
Oh.
Do we ever
cadence.
see Diane?
Season 3.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Do you want me to tell you who plays her?
I do. Yeah.
It's Laura
Ben.
Dern, baby.
Ben just got really excited.
That's great. That's awesome.
How'd you feel about Inland Empire?
I love Inland Empire. I love it so much. He made a creepypasta.
Yeah, that was during I think like it was like 2006. I saw that 2007, and I was just not like I wasn't as like well versed in all the types of cinema at that point just yet, and I think I just didn't give it its proper chance.
Honestly, I found it easier on a first viewing than like Mulholland Drive or Lost Highway, because I was just like, okay, this one is like there is no expectation of of like a clear through line narrative here. Like these are things happening, like and just like the mini DV aesthetic makes it so I don't know, it gives it such a texture,
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Where do we stand on Jennifer Lynch?
I've never seen Boxing in Elena, so I really can't comment.
Did she also not make? Am I thinking of the wrong director? The one with Bill Pullman, and was it Julia Ormond as like detectives, who were figuring out a murder? Is it someone chained to like chained to the floor in a hotel room?
Chained. Yeah,
Chained,
that's
it. That's an MFer of a movie.
Okay.
And she kind of, I will say, she takes it in a much more direct horror path. But
Yeah, I don't think her style is really at all informed by her father.
Yeah, I think she might just have like access to Bill Pullman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think she can call in some favors for the casting, but like I don't think her style is too like. From what I understand, I've seen some of her TV work, and it doesn't exactly strike like the David Lynch chord, you know.
No, God, this was just beautiful shot after beautiful shot after beautiful shot in Twin Peaks episode 1. Just all the colors. I felt like I thought I saw direct influence on Moonlight in a couple of the shots of the diner. Or when Laura's mom is looking for her and she opens one door, then opens the other door, and one beam of light shines in on the stairwell, and the other beam of light shines in on the stairwell. It was just really...
That goddamned ceiling fan.
Yeah. I noticed not so much the lighting didn't really stand out to me as much, but Lynch's use of the color red really, like it was very pronounced throughout the whole episode, I thought.
He's very good at using like symbolism in this episode to just show how this episode's going to go, or even like the rest of the season's going to go.
Yeah. And red, I mean, the color red itself, I mean, as someone that watched a little bit of Twin Peaks before and then kind of forgot stuff, that red room in the third episode is really that and Agent Cooper and his coffee are the two things that really stood out to me before I rewatched this episode.
Yeah, he filmed the Red Room stuff alongside the pilot.
Oh, yeah?
Actually, I think in some foreign territories it was sold as a TV movie with some of that stuff added in.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So the ending of the TV movie version is so goofy.
Oh, yeah.
He just finds Bob in like the basement of the hospital and shoots him, and that's it.
Oh.
It's just like, oh, okay, sure.
That's less exciting.
God, I really gotta start. I'm drawing so many blanks listening.
But yeah, the Red Room sequence is really just insane stuff.
Yeah.
He said the story of how he came up with it is so funny. He's just like, I was touching a hot car, and all of a sudden I saw it.
That doesn't always work out, those random visions. John DeBont had a dream while he was directing Speed 2 and decided
cruise control
that the movie needed to have a giant what is it called, cruise liner, crash into a dock, a pier.
A pier?
Yeah, at full speed, and everyone had to basically pivot and redo the movie because he decided this is how it had to be now. Yeah.
What was it going to happen before?
Lynch just needed some funky tiles and a curtain, so didn't jeopardize the production.
You might be right. I feel like David Lynch would be. I feel like he's like in some ways like, and obviously Kevin Smith and David Lynch are very different kind of filmmakers, but like he seems like he would be happy to talk to anybody about movies. Like he wouldn't like.
Not his own though.
No, but like but like talk to a freshman student, talk to a 80-year-old fan of movies their whole life.
I do find his creative advice to be really, really nice, really good stuff. There's a book called Catching the Big Fish about just like his process, and it's really nice stuff. Like he's very into meditation. That's his thing.
God, the things you know about this guy. In college, when I was at Purchase, I was such an idiot. And at one point, I seriously said this in class, and I apologize now. But I asked the class, I'm like, why do any of you want to watch things like Mulholland Drive and Eraserhead when Body of Lies is coming out?
Wait, what the hell is Body of
It's a
Lies?
Ridley Scott
DiCaprio.
movie with Russell Crowe and Leonardo DiCaprio about it. It was just like a Middle East war spy movie. And I said, why would you want to watch movies like this when you have, what was I using at the time? I'm like, Sylvester Stallone made a Rocky Balboa. Like, it was just come back to the, and I guess people were just being nice to me. They were just like, okay. And I was like 6-7 years older than everybody. I was just like trying to act like I was being wise. It was horrible. It was, and I didn't learn immediately how idiotic I sounded. It wasn't until like 2-3 years later, 4 years later, and the embarrassment for myself never goes away.
I've heard worse takes in film classes.
Yeah,
So.
I think there are definitely worse things to get behind than a Rocky movie. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I mean,
Poo-pooing David Lynch.
probably not the smartest thing to do.
To say,
but
why aren't you just watching
Yeah.
Rocky Balboa?
yeah, we're trying to make you feel better.
You know,
Thank you.
Just take the compliments.
Thank
Just
you.
roll with the compliments, Ben.
I didn't bring it up, but Eraserhead himself was in here. Jack Nance as Pete Martell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not.
He
notice
was.
that.
I think he was about 40 when he filmed this, but he looks like he's in his 60s.
Wow.
David Lynch is loyal to his people too.
Yeah. Jack Nance especially had a rough life, so I think Lynch always sought to all right, you need to be in here. I'm giving you a job.
Yeah.
Just such a
Yeah,
He's just such a hero of cinema.
Catherine E. Coulson, the log lady, she was an old friend of his and I think she worked on Eraserhead as a producer.
I did not even remember that Joan Chen was in this movie.
Yeah.
This series. She's just like an international super
Though
mega star.
I understand why you'd forget, because Josie seems important in the first episode, and then she is just not.
Yeah. But you think the way she's staring in that mirror and how
She's
beautifully
the first
framed
person
and
you see.
scaled and
Go sheriff, right? Good for you, sheriff.
I couldn't
That's the most
believe when
beautiful woman in the state.
when she walked in and Coop was like, "Who's the babe?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Cooper doesn't act like that. What?"
And then, the sheriff, when he does, he's like, "That's the most beautiful woman in the state." And you don't really think anything of it, and then you're like, "Oh, he's with her. Good for him. All right, he's standing up for his woman. That's good."
I really got to get back into watching.
Why was
something.
Coop so mean to Bobby? He didn't have to be that mean.
How was he mean to Bobby?
During the interrogation, he's really just ragging on him, and he's just like, "So she was seeing a different guy, huh? And then at the end, he's just like, "You never loved her anyway," which isn't true.
No.
Is this during an interrogation? The interrogation?
Yeah.
It's so that they could
But
dig up
before
answers.
that, halfway through he shows Truman a message that just says he didn't do it. He already knows Bobby's innocent, but he's just like, "I'm just gonna ruin this kid's mental."
Yeah.
Because maybe he thinks that he knows somebody who does know who did it. I
Or
don't
maybe it's just, a slightly older guy who sees someone who he wishes he always was as a young man and never got to be that person, and he just wants to take a little bit out of that guy's soul.
Good job.
Not that I've ever felt anything like that.
Good job, Agent Cooper. Because you did it.
Was Bobby ruined from that point on?
No, Bobby
No.
gets better.
Yeah.
By season 3, he's an upstanding citizen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the character stuff in season 3 is really beautiful because you don't spend a whole lot of time with a lot of the original cast, but when you do see them, you're like, oh, that's how their life is going, and it's such a beautiful check-in.
Bobby had a peak 1990 haircut.
Oh
too.
my God,
Yes, he did. And
Real
a
hard.
style too, a wardrobe.
the boots,
Yeah.
pants tucked in, flannel over a sweater and a leather
Yeah.
jacket. Somehow he's not just covered in sweat.
Yeah.
It's chilly in the Pacific Northwest.
True.
He starts barking in the jail cell.
Yeah, what a bizarre scene. Him and his friend Snake, just like
His name's Mike.
his name's Mike, but doesn't they call him Snake?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Pretty sure that's what it said on the. I'm pretty sure they call him Snake.
I can't wait to watch all this again. I had so many plans for the holidays. I was gonna like replay the graphical upgrade of The Witcher 3. I was gonna, start something new, watch a couple of series that I hadn't seen yet. But I'm just gonna go back into this.
Tell me when you get into the new territory.
Yes. Well, new territory for me is Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah, I'm interested.
I
to
have it
watch
on Blu-ray if you want to borrow it.
Cool.
It's the Criterion version. It's got the missing pieces too, which are a bunch of cutscenes from it.
Cool.
Oh, that's right. I got a Blu-ray Criterion collection release.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the Criterion sale right now. Not to plug Barnes & Noble or anything, but the Criterion collection sale is going on. So all Criterion Blu-rays in 4K are 50% off. I don't think we can do that here.
Oh, nice.
I think that's called, what's that called? When you're trying to sell something in a place that's not
Conflict of interest.
solicitation.
Oh.
Never mind.
Yeah, it's all right.
Edit.
We're not really trying to sell anything. We're just letting people know about an offer.
The greatest film collection is half off right now. It's a good time to be a film geek.
Yeah.
But yeah, would you watch it? I guess. Ben, we have a yes. Katie, we have a no.
I'm
Sorry,
like,
Joe.
I'm
That's
obsessed.
Okay. I'm glad
So,
you watched
Katie,
it.
I want your opinion because it sounds like
I'm
you
afraid.
are the dissenting opinion here.
Okay.
Did you just say it while I was talking and I missed it?
What?
What are you down about the show for? What do you not like about it? You said it doesn't seem like you're very interested in watching it.
It's just something I'm not interested in. I have no real
It's the surreal and all that.
specific reason for it. I wasn't really interested in it when the reboot was coming up, and I mean, I of course gave this first episode a shot just to see.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nicely done.
Thank you. But it's just not something that's really in my wheelhouse. And that's not to say that I don't like all like murder mystery cop themed TV shows, because I really do like Law and Order, the original Law and Order, not the spin-offs. But this is just, and I don't know that I'm the biggest fan of David Lynch to begin with.
What else have you seen?
You'd rather watch Body of Lies.
No, I don't want to watch Body of Lies.
I know, that opinion never aged well.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't think many people want to watch Body of Lies too often.
That's why.
Thank you for joining for another one of Would You Watch? And if you're interested in Twin Peaks, we have DVDs of all of the seasons and the movies in the system, so feel free to put in a request for them. And if you're interested in exploring more, a lot of stuff's on Hoopla. All the soundtracks for all the seasons are. There's some great books of criticism. There's one more as Ghost that I find very illuminating. It sort of tackles Twin Peaks from a feminist perspective, and I think it's really good stuff. There's a great foreword written by Cheryl Lee, the actress who plays Laura Palmer. And even the Secret Diary of Laura Palmer, which was written by Jennifer Lynch, David's daughter. So, yeah, check it out. Have a good one. See you next time.
Thank you.